Welcome to the Building Titans podcast. My name is JB Bolvadin, and this is a new exciting series. Myself and my partner, Bryan Karp, have put together Titan Business Network, where we're going to bring you valuable content every single week on how to be able to scale your business, so this way we can thrive together.
With the goal of this podcast, the Building Titans podcast is not only to just build you in one aspect of your life, it's to make a well-rounded person of you. Family, finance, fitness. The goal is to make you a titan in all aspects of your life. And the biggest thing that JB and myself will teach you, this doesn't happen overnight, but it starts now and it starts today. Join us for this week's episode.
So I kind of want to get into, well, we're going to talk about like a bunch of stuff, but kind of something that's been being talked about a lot. And I don't know if it's an exaggeration of it. I have my own opinions about it. This exhausted topic that this is the first and last time I'll talk about, this NAR settlement.
Okay.
So with the NAR settlement, as far as the changes, one is I don't think everyone's on the same page.
Definitely not. I already see it because my phone's been blowing up, my email's been blowing up, and it's almost like I'm coaching and training all these other agents, which their broker really should have done this because each broker has their own stance on it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing different policies too. Like everyone's sales binders are different now with very different setups. Everyone's listing agreements are very different now. Like, what are you seeing as far as like on your end? Are your sellers, do they know? Do they care? Like, what are they seeing from as a listing agent point of view?
Yeah, I'm going to say 70% of sellers are aware of it. So they did a great job of publicizing it and bringing it to attention, but none of the sellers really that I meet with fully understand it. And now the big thing that I'm seeing is that agents that I'm friends with and agents that work for me and agents that I, spend time with is now creating the scripts and the dialogues to coach and train our sellers to understand really what happened. And that's the biggest, misconception, because what the media did, and the media is great at, fear mongering. Yeah. All of this fear stuff is they're saying, oh, commission's gone the wayside, or commission doesn't exist anymore, or the 6% commission's gone. And really now it's about us being uberly educated. And, it's so sad because I'm now educating agents and I always have to be the most knowledgeable person in the room about it. So I'm fully been, absorbing every piece of content, media. I've read the entire settlement, or let's be honest, guys, I had someone read it to me, right? But so there's so much out there that's wrong, misconceptions about it. Listen, we could really there's a way to play this properly where most real estate agents will actually be able to make more money because it's just bringing more light to the way commission works.
Makes sense. I mean, well, let me ask you this: from selling, over 1,000 houses, how many sellers have said, man, it just really pisses me off and I feel really like short-ended the fact that the buyer's agent is getting a piece of your commission?
I've actually heard that a lot. Where seller, I've never had a seller saying, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent. And I've never had a seller say, I don't want to pay commission, right? People understand that, salespeople work on commission. That's how the Karp family has built their empire. That's how the Karp family fed themselves for the first few decades. And that's how real estate agents feed their families. So I've never had a seller saying, Bryan, I don't want to pay you. I have had sellers say, Bryan, I don't understand why you're sharing the commission with another broker. And I actually always kind of humble them and say, it's actually my pleasure to share with another broker because that broker brought a buyer about. Now, do buyer agents a lot of times do very little work? And there's some that are super unprofessional? 100%. 100%. But there's some also amazing buyer agents out there that actually help the deal, help negotiate the deal, help with the appraisal, help with working through the inspections. So I'm always so happy to pay someone who helps facilitate a number that my clients are ecstatic about or a number that the market could never bear. So I love that. I do get a little, I don't know the right word, I do get a little frustrated when it's an agent who never showed the property, isn't knowledgeable about the property, didn't help negotiate the deal, wasn't at the inspections, didn't help negotiate the inspection, didn't help the appraisal, never spoke to the attorneys, and just coming to pick up a check. But my personality is God bless them, take your money, because that agent is just a pawn in the game of me helping my sellers maximize dollars and cents.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, as far as obviously it's kind of like what I explain to some people is imagine putting a help wanted sign on your business. And then if someone came in and said, what do you pay? Like, no, I'm not paying. You have to source the income somewhere else.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that I'm against reallocating, renegotiating, or resetting things up. But the idea that compensation can't be offered anymore, shouldn't be offered, is probably not a good idea when you're trying to incentivize commission-only salespeople.
It's, listen, the NAR settlement, a lot had to do with attorneys, and a lot had to do with people there was a lot of money that went back and forth on that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
So I wish they would have reached out to Bryan Karp and we could have worked this out, because the goal in all real estate, and this even says when things go bad and agents are fighting and commission is being argued back and forth, the goal is we always close the deal and then let the agents and their brokers and even LIBOR or other, agencies will figure out where the compensation needs to get paid and where the money gets split or shared or divvied, but it should never hinder someone's sale. And I think a lot of this settlement is going to end up hindering buyers and sellers.
100%. I mean, we're seeing that now, like where they don't even know how to request a showing right now. And that first week, there was still activity, but from what I've seen is that first week, you didn't have that like wave of people. It was almost like this, like buyers trying to give it a shot on their own, other agents, they're scheduling showings, but then they forget to ask if there's a co-broke. And then now they put an offer in, and now they're trying to negotiate their compensation plus the sale price, and it's just going backwards on some people for sure.
The nice thing prior to this was it was kind of already understood what was being offered out.
Yeah.
Now, did I see over my 15 years of selling, thousands of homes, did I see agents that said, hey, I'd like to get paid an additional 1%, additional 2% above and beyond what I was offering out? Absolutely. But it kind of was rare. And 99% of the time, we didn't have to negotiate agent commission plus the offer.
Right.
So your eye was just, let's get your buyer a house that they want at the price they're okay with, and let me as a listing agent, and probably the top listing agent, just help my seller get the number they want. Now there's so much negotiating going on. And unfortunately, there's a huge piece of this business that I love every single agent that is a good agent, but we do have so many, as in any industry, bad seeds. So now what they're negotiating their fee while they're trying to get their client a house at the right price. It's just, the whole thing makes me nauseous and makes me unsettled because I don't feel like the seller or the buyer's best interest in certain capacities are being top of mind.
Yeah, I agree with you, because right now they're thinking about getting theirs and they're trying to solidify that versus getting their client the deal. And that's what they're worried about first. So it's literally, it's become a very convoluted environment, and it's complicated too, because a lot of people don't know how to explain it to their clients. And, it's something where I think over time, the strong always survive, right? It doesn't matter what the rules are, what the laws are. If you're good, if you're a shark, if you're a killer at it, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of the other ones, the guys that were kind of taxing the deals, where they were just like, yeah, I'm sending my buyer over there. Yep. Yeah, can you show them? Can you do the final walkthrough? Can you do the whatever?
JB, nothing kills me more, and I'm talking to the agents. Hopefully, one of them are watching this, where they schedule a showing with my staff, and they send their buyer, and they're not there. And they said,
this is not an open house. This is
not
a
an open
private
house.
showing.
It's a private showing, and they say, "Oh, I thought the listing agent was going to be there," or "I thought the seller could let him in," or "I'm stuck in traffic," or "I'm sick." It just blows me away now with all of this NAR settlement, where I love paying buyer agents, right? And I love seeing people make money and get compensated. But then they're weaseling out and trying not to do anything. You're there as a salesperson. You should be talking about the house. You should be educated about the house. You should know the house, know the neighborhood, know the area. The nice thing about the way that I do business is if you go on Stratus, attach the listing, I have everything you could ever want to know about the property. If we have surveys, we give them. We have an amenity sheet with all of the extras, upgrades, ages of stuff. If it's a development, we go through the development. Like I try to arm the sales force because I know other agents and co-brokering is a part of getting the most money for a property.
Yeah, which is huge. And you do that. I remember on one of your new constructions, you got like the whole build sheet, spec sheet, everything. But like aside from being there while it gets built, you have a full picture of what it is and where it's going to be.
I had a broker, I'm selling a multifamily in the boroughs, and I had a broker who wanted to jump on a call with me. It just happened I was in meetings all day. So he kept emailing my staff and they just kept reverting him back to the listing. I finally spoke to him last night. He's like, dude, like you have everything I could ever ask is on this listing. I said, yeah, because I'm trying to set up the sales force. So to jump on something you said before, I'm seeing a lot of offers coming in that don't mention the buyer's agent compensation. So they're still using all the old NAR forms or all the old MLS forms, and they're not stating what their buyer broker commission is.
Which is setting them up for a big problem at closing.
Which is setting them up. Listen, I am always going to do my best to compensate somebody so they don't have to worry about the sales giant or Bryan Karp trying to get one over on you. That's the last thing I'm trying to do, right? I've already gotten mine, and my goal is to continue to serve at the highest level. But I'm telling you, if they're putting offers in on, XYZ realtor that sells 3 or 4 homes a year or could put an extra $1 in their pocket, they're going to do the wrong thing. They can't be sending in offers that don't state their compensation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny too, because a lot of the attorneys won't even catch it or care too, unless they have good ones where it comes down to breaking that down.
And what's going to happen is at the closing table, when everyone sends their commission bill, they're going to send a commission bill for, fake 2%, 2.5%, 3%, whatever they thought they were getting. And the seller's like, I don't have a contract with you. So a lot of stuff is going to start to really come about.
The buyer's not going to pay it. If the buyer doesn't know about it, here's what I suspect. Even if the buyer signs, they're still going to give resistance, half of them, because it wasn't explained to them properly until closing that, wait, I got to pay that?
If they're going to say that, JB, if it is outside the contract, right? Because sellers could say, well, I'm not paying any commission to you, and you can't wrap it in your deal.
Yeah.
Right? So I think buyers are going to say, well, I'm not going to come out of pocket 15 G's to pay you, JB, right? But if it's rolled into the offer, which I'm seeing a ton of people rolling into the offer, but I'm also seeing offers coming in saying, Bryan, I'm going to get my commission from my buyer separately. And it doesn't even have anything to do with this.
Yeah, which those are clean deals too.
What I'm preaching to buyers is, how horrible is it to go to a used car lot, right? You walk into a used car lot and there's a salesman in a bad suit or a saleswoman in a bad suit, and they're trying to sell you one of the cars there. Imagine, right, you could have that salesperson go to every lot with you and help you negotiate the best deal. And that's where buyer brokerage, and that's where this is going. Now, so instead of you having that bad salesperson from the first lot, finding an amazing salesperson like myself or some of the amazing, brokers or agents in Long Island, you interview with them, you decide what commission you're going to pay them, you sign a contract with them, and then that broker goes to every car lot, Honda, Cadillac, Acura, Nissan, and they negotiate a deal for you. Like that's the greatest thing ever. And to me, that's how it should be sold and pitched, where if I walk into that one Honda dealership, I have no choice but to work with that guy with the bad suit on. And what if I don't like anything he has, and he has commission breath because he only gets paid on that house, or I'm sorry, that car. But now I can go to every single lot with the person I choose and I feel comfortable with, hopefully in a real beautiful custom suit.
If for any buyer's agent was watching, is trying to it's like freaking out right now, what's like the easiest steps they can look at as far as like getting a hold of their business and showing value to their client? What do they need to do to be able to get that buyer broker?
I think it actually raises the level of your business, right? I was always, from the beginning of starting this 15 years ago, my goal was always to raise the level of my business and all realtors' business. And I didn't do it by yelling and screaming. I did it by leading by example, right? Today, I still wear a suit into the office every single day. I still wear a tie clip, cufflinks, monograms, the whole 9 yards, because I want to be treated like that prestigious attorney, that prestigious doctor or engineer. So to me, this settlement actually makes us more credible. And the way it makes us more credible is you are not going to be able to just meet a buyer at a property for the first time and show them around. Now you have to sign a contract with the buyer. You have to show the buyer your value proposition, what you bring to the table. They have to agree to hire you for a time period, and you guys have to negotiate a commission before you look at a property. I think it is great. Every agent that ever got screwed over or a buyer didn't wasted your time or spent hours and hours or days and days or months and months with you, and then they ended up buying a house from somebody else, that's no longer going to exist. They're going to meet you at your office. They're going to meet you at your house, and you're going to sign a contract with them, and you're going to explain everything.
My favorite thing about what you said is that it brings credibility to our industry, because now you're acting like there is no other example where there's an agent involved, whether that's a talent agent, a sports agent, any type of agent where there's no contract, established relationship, and compensation plan for that, except in real estate until now.
People are going to hate me for this, and Zillow is probably going to shadow ban this video, but it's going to get rid of so many agents that are just paying for leads, and the lead doesn't even know who you are. You don't bring any value to the transaction. You just paid for a lead. You opened up a door of another agent's property, and you don't have any information about the property. You don't bring any value, and you expect to make a commission. That's not going to exist anymore, because now you're going to have to meet that buyer. They're going to have to sign a contract with you. You're going to have to explain to them the commission that you deserve, which I am all about people making commission.
Of course, yeah.
I love it. I pay commission people every day of my life. I love it, right? In all different types of businesses. But it needs to be front and center, and the consumer needs to understand it.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be, well, the thing, like, let's talk about Zillow for a second, because I feel like Zillow, we don't know what the future holds right now, but Zillow kind of revolutionized the real estate industry a little bit, for better and for worse. It took someone when I got licensed, it was 2009. I was 19 years old. Back then, if you spent $2,000 a month on Zillow, you would make six figures off of that if you were a closer. Easy. You'd be getting 30, 40 leads a month. And back then, Zillow was less saturated. It wasn't perfect, never was. But long story short is then we started to see kind of Zillow warriors, where a lot of real estate teams, and I'm not criticizing them, I'm just saying they're spending $5,000, $10,000 a month on Zillow. They're distributing the leads, and then Zillow even started to offer, what's the name of that? I forgot off the top of my head. Flex agent, right? Or just Flex program. So that's where they take a 35% referral fee, I think.
But to me, that there's no value there, right? And listen, it's fine, because first off, let's really unpack how Zillow got started. Zillow screwed realtors from day one. So what they did, if no one knows this, because I've been in this game long enough, and I'm going to probably butcher the story, but what Zillow basically did is from the beginning, they came out to realtors and said, listen, we're going to create another website that you guys could post your properties on. And us realtors, not assuming, said, sure, why not? It gives more visibility to our clients. Zillow said, we're going to have this amazing thing that gives a Zestimate, gives an evaluation of what the property could be. It's just another platform for you to post your listings. So us realtors just started posting it there. Step one. Step two was they basically started to steal the data of our clients and start selling it back to us, right? That's where they messed up the whole situation. If they wanted to just ask us to pay to advertise on Zillow, or you used to be able to promote a listing higher on Zillow, but the day that this is from the beginning, this is what they did from us, right? It's almost like they stole from our people, us realtors, because then basically what they did is they started charging us to get our own leads from them. I don't even know what to say. Like, give me another example where they almost fooled us. They took advantage of us, and we gave them the power. And now, guys, Zillow is integrated into your MLS. You can't even decide if you don't want it to stream to Zillow. It used to be where I used to have my staff uploaded to Zillow. And then Zillow, only thing they wanted from me was, Bryan, if you wanted to populate higher on the page, then you can pay $100, $50 a month to promote it. And we were okay with that. And then this was their play from the beginning, was they started stealing the buyers from the agents and selling it to other people.
Yeah, it's very interesting too, because their users and their customers are two different people. So the user is the buyers, the customer is the agents running ads, and the provider is the listing agent who gets nothing out of it.
So to bring this full circle with the whole situation is there was no value to, I'm all about educating. I'm all about us realtors bringing our brands higher, bringing more service, bringing more value. So when you're buying a lead from Zillow, you're grabbing a piece. There's no value there. You're just opening a door and showing a property. The value is being the guru of the neighborhood. The value is knowing the difference between this block and that block. The original builder that built that house in 1970 added this amenity, this extra, like knowing the intimate details instead of just grabbing a lead, opening a door and trying to make a commission check. I'm not about that, right? I've been successful because I pride myself on being more knowledgeable or as knowledgeable as the top people on real estate in the areas that I serve and cover.
Yeah. And that's huge, because I think now what we're going to see is we're going to see a little bit of a revolution, because now a Zillow lead won't be as powerful because you have to have a consultation. That lead wasn't looking for a consultation. They were looking to get into the house.
And they were really looking for information about the house. Has anybody who's a consumer ever called on a house, spoke to an agent that knew nothing about the property? Well, that happened because you were a Zillow rerouted you to somebody who paid for it.
Yeah. Instead of the listing agent who would have been able to answer all your questions for you.
Right. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't hire a buyer's agent and have somebody to represent you, but just to be rerouted and almost misled, it's misleading.
It is.
It's totally misleading.
It is. It is. And I think what's happened is that obviously it's built a lot. Also, it creates an illusion of some sort where, and again, I don't want to knock people that depend on Zillow. This is not intended that way.
No, not at all.
But also, it also creates an illusion sometimes of, is someone that good at marketing, or are they buying a lot of leads? And that's okay. But at the same time, when you're looking to discover like who's the one that can actually go out there and go to war with you, now that the market's going to change, now that you can't just take a selfie with a house and just put house for sale and they'll sell for over ask, you actually need people who are like very skilled at what they do. And that's going to be a fine group of people where you can't determine if you've been in the last 4 years. It's hard from face value to tell who those people are, because everything has been selling over asking. Yeah. Everything's been scaling and growing. And where's that lead coming from? You know, that's the thing.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm not hating on Zillow agents. I am just saying that I want an agent that, if I'm a consumer, that is knowledgeable about the product, right? And if Zillow, if now what's going to have to happen is they're going to have to meet with you, and you're going to have to disclose that I am not the listing agent, because as a listing agent, I don't have to have a contract signed, right? A listing agent or the listing agent's team or representative does not have to have a contract signed to show our property. We're allowed to show an unrepresented buyer one of our properties, right? Yeah. So what's going to happen if someone calls myself or another listing agent and you get routed to the listing agent, they are allowed to show you that property without a contract.
Yeah, which will also change the game, because now they're going to really prefer, once they catch on, it's still brand new, they're going to want to go direct to a listing agent at that point if they don't want to sign a contract. Although, not to circle back to the other pieces, I would hate as a buyer to have to constantly reintroduce myself, go over my credentials again, show my pre-approval every time, versus just having someone represent me.
Listen, I am all for buyer agents. 2 examples. Just spoke to one of my clients on the way here. She's in Florida. She's shopping hard to buy something, and all of this is coming out. And her agent said, not Bryan, her name's not Bryan, Linda, I can't show you houses anymore until you sign this contract. And she's an old timer, and she was yelling and screaming. So I said, Linda, if you don't want to sign, you don't feel comfortable, then just call the listing agents. Literally, she said to me, I don't want to have to call every single listing agent and introduce myself and set up all these appointments. I want someone to do it for me.
Yeah.
So we need the service.
Yeah.
That's example 1. Example 2, right? The sales giant is purchasing multifamily properties in Tennessee. Well, guess what? I have a buyer's agent who was representing me and hustling and hunting deals for me. And I signed a contract with them and their firm, and I am paying them a fee. So proof is the pudding, right? I am literally telling you what I am doing, but they're finding me off-market properties. They are doing the research. They are helping me. They are networking with other brokers. So there's so much value in it. Yeah. It's just, I interviewed other brokers before I signed a contract and knew who I was working with and understood what the fee for service was.
Yeah, which is the most important thing. So it'll be good. It's like now buyer's agents have to kind of go through that listing appointment whether they like it or not, where it's for the buyer. But now acquisition is going to be really important. The good news is like you said, at least you have accountability with your buyers. You have clients that you can work with that are going to be exclusive to you. And it just allows you to really focus for them and work hard for them too. Because there was always this thing where I saw this like trap where, you've heard the stories a million times. I showed them 20 houses that they went to an open house and bought it with that agent directly, or that'll switch up and change a lot. Now going into the future now, let's segue into what does this market look like a few years, not even a few years from now, the next 12 months on the residential side?
The market's softening. There's no two ways around it. I've been Chicken Little saying it. I've been advising my clients early 2024 to get your property on the market and sell it. And I will tell you the first quarter and second quarter of 24 was still rocket fuel. The nice thing about what I bring to the table, and this is for my real estate agent friends that aren't moving a ton of inventory, is carrying this much listings. I see the weeks, how they change, and the market's softening. It is still a good market where real estate is selling if it's priced properly, but you cannot stack an extra 50 on top of what it should trade for in that neighborhood. And the buyer demand is down substantially right now, where you would put a property on the market and potentially you could have 8 showings in the first week. Now they're down to 2 or 3. Your 8 showings could lead you to 2 offers. Now it leads you to maybe 1 offer.
Yeah.
It's just going back to what a normal market feels like. If we start to get a lot more inventory, then we will start to see prices potentially go down. But they are not going to come down until we have a lot more inventory, because there are still credible buyers out there looking for properties. And if I price anything to where it should be trading for, I am getting offers and I'm still getting good, well-qualified buyers. But I am also starting to see contingent deals come out, which means contingent on the sale of their house, where these buyers could have never existed a year ago.
Yeah.
I am starting to see a lot more lower money down. I'm starting to see a lot more people asking for sellers' concessions, not for the commission, but for their closing costs. So these were all things that I saw a ton in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yep.
So I'm just starting to see all of that play out.
The last 3-4 years, that was a no-go though.
No-go.
Yeah, it was very hard to get a house if those were your circumstances. So let's talk about average market too, because I think a lot of people that I'm seeing in the industry now have entered 2020 or after. So they don't even know what that looks like. So just to put a picture out there, it would take 3 to 4 to 5 months to sell a house.
Absolutely.
You would get 1 to 3 offers, 2 being way off. The offer you accepted would be within about 3 to 5% of your asking price. There would be a home inspection. There would be a list from that home inspection. There would be repairs or credits from that home inspection, and then you would close.
That is exactly, it's so funny because that is exactly how it would go. The other thing is you might have 2 or 3 weeks where there was no showings.
Yep.
So, as an agent who got into the business, at 2020, you don't realize a listing was as good as a commission check, or a listing was as good as you getting paid, where there was no service, there was no real marketing. You had to think about, like I used to do, and I still do it today, where if I had a property that had a 4-car garage and we couldn't sell it, I'd be reaching out to car collecting clubs to see if they had any members that were looking for garage houses, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just throwing it up on a website and praying and it was sold. Where now you really have to do marketing campaigns. You really have to provide service and value, because that was a market where it would take 3 to 6 months for a home to sell.
Yeah. And instead of over ask, you might be talking price reduction several times.
Several times. Just because sometimes at the end of the day, people say to me all the time, Bryan, just tell me what it's worth. And I always say to them is, I don't decide what they're worth. And neither do you. The market does. So we're going to look at numbers to hopefully put out a proper number. But at the end of the day, the market is a moving point,
Yeah.
right? It's always moving. And I can't tell you what the market is right now when I'm talking to you because it may be different in a week from now.
100%. Definitely. And then with over ask, that would have to be really like a unicorn. That was a diamond type. That was not common.
Never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened. It never happened. Where I think in every real estate agent's social media, they're always boosting about over ask over the last 4 years, where creep me, because I've been in this game for a long time, creep me from 2017, 18, 19. I don't think I ever said over ask.
No. And then that's the thing too, that I want to kind of like, here's the thing that I wanted to really agents to understand too, and business people in general. If you make no investment in your marketing, you haven't added talent or personnel, you haven't gotten another skill set or trained yourself, and somehow you're 200xing what you did the year before, you are not that good. There's a wave, and I really think that you should literally be taking advantage of it, but also don't think like, oh man, I'm just a beast, because I think a lot of people right now are getting punched in the face. We're seeing brokerages close. We're seeing a lot of agents kind of contract and go into other industries. We're seeing mortgage companies contract. We're seeing all these other things contract because I think a lot of people didn't realize they were riding a wave. They actually thought like they're that good. And I'm not saying that to criticize them. It's more of like, you have to have an understanding of what the reality is.
When the tide comes in, you see who's swimming with their pants down.
Yeah.
And the tide is coming in.
Yeah.
I think it's a Warren Buffett quote, so don't quote me on that one. But basically all it says is that everyone thinks that they are the best at what they do when the market's fire. But you have to understand that the market is not always good, and the market is always going to be changing. And that's why I preach it from the sky is use this business, use this industry to create wealth, and then invest that money into assets that produce income for you and your family.
Yeah.
Why are the Karp family sitting here smiling and loving this market? Because we put our acorns away during the time that the market was fruitful. We even put our acorns away prior to the market being fruitful because we knew that it doesn't always go up. It doesn't always rain opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something else I noticed. I know that, obviously you've been a machine in selling real estate for the last 10 years, but I think like if I need 10 stalks of corn to survive, I should probably plant 100 because my neighbor's going to steal some are going to die, whatever. But like I need 100 to get 10. And it's safe to say that probably 70 listings in 2020 was the equivalent of revenue of 115 listings in 2017 because of expired price reductions, et cetera, things that make it happen. So I think a lot of people also don't realize that if you got used to making $250K from 16 transactions or 16 listings or 20 listings, whatever it might be, that may not happen a year or two from now, because before, if you listed 16 properties, you sold 16 properties in a week for over ask. And now if you list 16 properties, you might close on 11 of them. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. What I've always thought about for myself is I always wanted to have three things happening for my business, right? Number one was I needed to have the properties that we have listed go into contract. I do need some of those contracts from time to time to close because we do need money to run the business and pay the staff. But the most important thing for me was always to keep an eye on the new business coming in, because then it can go down the conveyor belt, right? And it's just because you put a house in the market or just because you start working with a buyer doesn't mean you're going to get paid on it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that nobody should have been raising their lifestyle because 2022 and 2023, the market was fire. Everybody should have been concerned about it and really be super cautious and mindful of what was happening. And that's what I was doing. I've been preaching to tell everyone this was going to stop. And we've been super diligent about what we were doing with the revenue that we received from this business. And we put it into income streams that work even if the Karps don't work. And it's so funny because anyone who's hiring any professional, I always, when I'm looking at other businesses, I ask the people, this happened with the multifamily thing. I asked the multifamily guys, I'm like, how much multifamily real estate do you own? And to me, if you're hiring somebody and they don't own or manage that asset class, it just blows me away. Like every real estate agent over these years that were so fruitful and the business was falling from the sky, why were you guys not investing in the asset that you're telling people to buy? It just blows me away.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a form of integrity too, because it's almost like if you were buying, a Mercedes, but the guy who's selling the Mercedes drives an Audi.
It blows me away.
Yeah,
it really does. And listen, I'll tell you, from 15 years ago, I got into real estate. Well, guess what? I bought my first property prior to even having a license. And then once I owned it, I said, oh my God, I got to get into this game. So to me, I preach to everybody is you should be every few years investing in the asset that you're selling people as a profession.
Yeah. I mean, let's go down the list of the average realtor investments. New cars, sick watches, vacations, social media content that doesn't actually generate business. It just is a way to flex. They do some signs and flyers, and probably looking for, usually realtors also, I noticed something, and I don't care if I get hate, it's true. If it's not true, put it in the comments. Looking for the cheapest, not the best. Mm-hmm. Now, the combination of those things obviously doesn't lead to growth, scale, or wealth. If we can kind of reverse that person, what are the things you would tell them to stop spending their money on and start spending their money on?
I would stop spending the money on depreciating assets, right? You guys know I've been driving a 2010 Camry with my face on it for the last 100 years. So to me, the car that you roll up in on the listing appointment or the buyer meeting, like, is absolutely meaningless to you getting the sale. So number one thing we could save in every single person's budget is that flashy car. And I know someone's going to write in the comments, but Sales Giant, we see that you have a beautiful Escalade in your driveway. You're 100% right. But the Karp family didn't purchase that Escalade with earned income. We purchased that Escalade with passive income.
What's the payment on that Escalade?
There's no payment on the Escalade, right? The Karp family wrote a check from passive income for that truck. That truck is also over 6,000 pounds. So the Karp family could write it off top line revenue from the business. You don't purchase anything that you can't write multiple checks for that price. And you also don't purchase any depreciating asset. You don't purchase any depreciating asset that you purchase with earned income. You need to take your earned income and invest it into assets that pay you every single month, that spit at you, and that increase in value and give you tax write-offs. So I'm all about, if you want to have beautiful cars and beautiful vacations and beautiful suits, but understand, when you look at me and you look at anything that we do that looks above what the average Long Islander or New Yorker has, all of that is done with passive income. And guess what? There's only another few weeks in the month, and then the checks will hit the account again, and the passive income is back, right? The goal for myself when I got into this business 15 years ago was to serve people, trade my time for money, invest that money into multifamily real estate that was going to give me an income every single month. And one day, which takes a decade, one day we'll be able to raise our lifestyle and live like no one else from the passive income that the portfolio has. So every single person who doesn't own their car or truck or vehicle outright, and whatever it costs you, if you can't purchase it from passive income, you should sell it tomorrow and get yourself a little Hyundai or a little Kia and bring that revenue down immediately. On top of that, you don't need watches. I know you're going to say some of them go up in value, but they don't produce income monthly.
Yeah, you're not going to get rich off it either. But, I'm with you on that. Go on.
It doesn't produce income. I only put money into items that produce income, right? So if I'm going to invest in something or put some money into something, it has to give me money yearly, monthly, or quarterly. So get rid of the watches, these fancy dinners you could have them one day, but you can't have them today. You have to live like no one else today, so tomorrow you and your family can live like no one else.
100%. I love that. And I don't know if you remember this. When we were shooting Protege, I think it was 2. We had this conversation, and I just got done buying like $200,000 in cars. So, and then I started to do the math on it. Like, what do these cars cost? What are they worth as they cost that? And what am I doing? I don't know if you remember this. I came to you. I was like, dude, I sold those cars. I got rid of them.
Yeah,
I
was proud of you that you did it.
Yeah, I unloaded them because I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you're right. Because first of all, making the payment doesn't mean it's a good investment. Like just because your income qualifies for it, you can't use the way a bank underwrites a deal as a good investment. Because the way they qualify to lend you money is not the way that's not based on you getting wealthy. That's based on them hedging their bet on lending you the money.
Just because you could afford the payment doesn't mean you should purchase it.
Yeah, you're right. 100%.
To me, and this is, something that I'm working with some of my close friends about, is how do you become financially free in real estate? It's really simple. It takes about 10 years. What you need to do first is sit down, and I have this if anyone needs, and JB will help you guys get it, is you need to have every expense it costs you to run your life, live your life on a yellow pad. What you spend on gas, what you spend on your Verizon bill, what you spend on groceries. Don't also forget Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts, every single item there. You need to know what it costs you a month to run your life and your household. Once you have that number, then all you have to do is have enough passive income to pay for that. But until you have that number, you can't shoot for anything. And that's what I did 15 years ago. I ran all the expenses it cost Jessica and myself to run our lifestyle. And I said, okay, it was X. All I got to do now is have X. And we started off slow, $1,000 a month in passive income, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. And at 38 years old, we had enough passive income coming in where I was considered financially free. So it takes a decade to get there, but if you don't have the numbers, you have nothing to shoot for. And then you start going over stuff and you look at the $1,800 car payment. The dinner is out, right? So you're going to Insignia 4 nights a month. You see every dollar there, and you're able to the goal is to bring your expenses down as much as possible and then bring enough passive income coming in to outweigh those expenses.
So, and what's a better feeling than financial freedom and security anyway? I don't think there's anything you could actually buy that would create that type of happiness. And
there is nothing better. There's nothing better than walking into your home that you own outright and to know that nobody owns it. You own it. The bank doesn't own it. You own it. Financial freedom is the ultimate game. Anyone who is playing for anything else is playing a small game, right? The whole reason I got into real estate, the whole reason I started entrepreneurship, the whole reason I quit a W-2 job was for financial freedom.
And right now, if everything blew up and you would lose nothing. Like even your investment properties are on leverage.
Even
right?
if real estate, right? So if tomorrow morning NAR comes out with a new settlement and real estate agents don't exist anymore, I'm still smiling from ear to ear, because during the time period that we played the sport of real estate, right? We weren't frivolous with our money, and we invested it into assets that will pay us forever. Generational wealth.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, this isn't real to like a lot of people. When they hear that, not that they don't believe you, they can't have it. They actually believe like this is like an anomaly. This isn't something that you can be done. Okay, so let's say we're talking to someone who's just getting started. Assume that I'm guessing, I don't want to jump the gun here, but I'm assuming that if you're just getting started and you're making some extra money, if you have any type of liabilities, get rid of those first. Would that be the first investment?
First step was, let's go back. I can literally put myself in my high ranch in Ronkonkoma at a high top dining room table with Jessica. And I first year sold 3 houses and I made an extra $22,000, still working a W-2 job. And with that $22,000, I paid off a piece of a student loan. I paid off a car payment. So yes, step 1 right there.
So eliminate liabilities.
Eliminate liabilities.
If you're renting and you have debt, but you're making some cash, attack the debt first. Don't buy anything yet. Okay. So once you do that, now let's say you don't have any consumer debt. Is there any debt you should keep or could keep?
You could argue that real estate debt is okay, right? And that could be argued back and forth. And let's make this example for everyone achievable. The number one thing is getting rid of the credit card debt, getting rid of the consumer debt, selling the car. You don't need a car payment. Go get yourself something cheap, right? Get yourself a Kia, get yourself a Honda, right? You can get one for $250 a month, $300 a month. So get rid of consumer debt. Step 2, emergency fund, right? Because it's not always good, right? Sometimes I could just tell you, yesterday was probably one of the heaviest days for my portfolio, right? While a lot of you guys were laying in bed and enjoying the rainstorm that flooded all of Suffolk County, we had multiple basements that flooded. We had multiple first floors that flooded. We had multiple roofs that had leaks. But because we have an emergency fund for the portfolio, I wasn't stressing it. It was send out the restoration guys. Let's get the water out of the properties. Let's see what went wrong and let's fix these issues. Where if I didn't have an emergency fund and I wasn't capitalized, I'd be, oh my God, the sky is falling.
Now this emergency fund, is it per house you have one, or is it an actual like portfolio? Like how do you come up with the numbers?
When I first started, when I bought my first investment property, it was just for that house. And it was over budgeted, right? Now today, because we have so much real estate, the company that manages all the Karp family's real estate has an emergency fund in it.
Gotcha. So let's walk through. I buy a house. I buy it for $350. I do some renovations. I'm in it for $400, whatever. I'm collecting $4,000 a month. What kind of fund? What would you recommend as an emergency fund for that type of house?
I would say $10,000.
Okay.
Right. And I can tell you 20 years ago when I bought my first investment property, I am so risk averse. It was $20,000
Gotcha.
And the house was $200,000. Right. So I'm always overcautious, but having 10 grand in an account, right. And I think will absolutely take care of roofs, boilers, floods, all of those things. You shouldn't be relying on your insurance, if in case the oh my God happens.
That's a great point.
And you should have an emergency fund just for your household and your life. If the car goes or is an issue or an emergency, it's called an emergency fund.
How many months of emergency fund have you allocated? Or what do you recommend versus what do you do today?
Right. So I would say you should have 3 to 6 months of cash on hand at any time.
Gotcha. So if like my income went to zero, I made nothing, I should be able to survive up to 6 months with what's in there.
I have that. I have more than that. But you should also have lines of open credit just in case. Right. So I understand. And, a lot of my daily business today is managing the funds of the family. And if you have excess capital sitting there, it's wasteful when money you could be making 10, 12, 15% on your capital.
Sure.
Right. So it's wasteful to do that. So if you don't want to keep huge sums of money on hand, or if you don't want to keep 50 grand on hand, you could either have a line of credit that you could tap at any time to be your emergency fund. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I did know people that they had those things like when the market got crazy, they got those lines of credit closed on them, even though they weren't in default.
That's why you should always have cash on hand.
Yeah. Plus, I look at the end of the day, there was another thing you have too. You have assets that you could tap into, that you could liquidate if you needed to. We're talking about worst case scenario.
Right.
Like,
and real estate,
there's a lot of layers here.
And real estate is not a liquid asset.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a tomorrow morning sell it. If it is, you're selling it at a deep discount.
Right.
Where you don't want to sell it at a discount. You want to get top for it.
Sure. So, okay. So we're going back into this. Okay. Making, let's say 120 grand a year, renting right now, had some consumer debt. Okay. Consumer debt's paid off. Can this person get a car payment or a lease, or should they just try and buy something cash?
They should save up and try to buy something cash.
Okay. Let's say that they're out of time. They're making some money, but like they need a car yesterday.
So then get yourself a $200 a month lease, a $300 a month lease.
So get something cheap.
Something
Base
cheap, super cheap. And honestly, I wouldn't do a lease. I would do a finance.
Yeah.
Right. Something super cheap, not flashy, as cheap as humanly possible, get you to point A to point B. Because I'm telling you, as the number one real estate agent in Long Island, everybody has a nicer car than me as their work car or business car.
Yeah.
You don't need that flashy car.
I agree with you because I've owned a lot of nice cars, high-end cars. The most money I've ever been making is on my Tesla Model 3. Mm-hmm. It's not flashy at all. It's very bone basic because no one cares about the car. At the end of the day, once they meet you and they talk to you and they know what you do, they don't look at the car at all. They don't care what you drive.
They care what's up here and what's coming out of your mouth.
100%.
And your knowledge. And if you're not knowledgeable about the product or the business you're in, then it's wasteful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think the only time a car would come in handy is if you work in a luxury market. I think it's part of like the brand at that point, potentially. If you're selling $10 million houses, it might be better to have something more in the environment of that group. Or if you work in the car biz or entertainment biz or something like that, or something like, other than that, I don't see really a need for it. And that's even debatable what I'm saying, but that's the only time where someone could tell me that and I could see a justification.
They should also be thinking about, right? So we said, step one was consumer debt. Step two was emergency fund. You should also be trying to bring your overhead down. So I would be having a room in your house you're renting out, bringing a roommate into your room, right? Everybody thinks they need like their space and they need this, they need their massages, they need this. No. Like you need nothing, right? When I was building this empire that's today, it was working 2 jobs. It was going from one job right to the next job. There was nothing sexy or fancy about it. If you're not hitting lotto and you're not creating Facebook, you're going to have to spend years of your life trading time for money. And I just looked at it and said, I'm trading my time for this money, but it's not forever. And I knew, okay, well, I'm making $25, $30, $50 an hour. So am I really going to want to waste that money on this, this, and this? But I knew that the goal was to make enough money by trading my time. And I still trade my time today when I sell real estate, that I would have enough funds to invest into an asset that was going to work while I slept, and worked while I vacationed, and worked while I coached my kids' football.
It's funny you mentioned, I think you'll appreciate this. So I started a series, Levy actually cut it up one of my first vlogs, which is like a starving entrepreneur. By that I mean, it's like, if you're trying to make it work right now, how do you do it? So I literally put together a formula. I went to Costco and did it, where you can eat 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, total $50.98 for the week.
Really?
Yeah. I did the whole vlog. I'm going to drop it. So we go into Costco, rotisserie chickens there.
Yes.
$5 a pop.
Yep.
Grab 2 of those bad boys.
Is it healthy?
Yeah, it's not organic, but it doesn't have the it doesn't have additives, doesn't have hormones, doesn't have antibiotics.
Yeah.
So get all that. Then I went to the rice aisle. They have rice cilantro that's USDA organic, pre-made. You can just heat that up. That's enough for the week. Grab that. Then I went to the organic egg section. Got 24 eggs for $8 each. Got those built in. So in the morning I'm having eggs, and afternoon and dinner it's chicken and rice. But I cut up the different chicken pieces. Long story short, $50.98 with tax out the door. You eat 3 meals a day for the entire week, mostly organic.
That's unbelievable. And you're eating 3 meals. I don't even eat 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
I could probably do it for 40.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's like a will. If there's a will, there's a way, because you can really compress it. I like to play the game because I'm in expansion mode in my business. We were talking off the podcast, like when we first met a few years ago, it was very real estate heavy. Now I work with so many different industries, and I like to push or test myself sometimes. The funny thing is that now that we have kids, I can't play that game, because I was telling my wife, I was like, you see this $50.98? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, we don't need to do that. I'm like, I'm doing it for the sake of this content. She's like, I don't know if I want to do that the whole time. So I'm doing it by myself. But long story short is, I like to always remember, like I said, let's figure out a way where you literally, with technology today, can do so many things you couldn't do that you can be very resourceful with. Like I can literally, with AI, I can ask it something like, we're talking about, let's say, all right, you're talking about buying a deal, and I don't know what a cap rate is. Just making that up. I could literally go to AI, and this is something that you can't do on Google, but you can do with AI. So first thing I'm going to do is this. What is a cap rate in commercial real estate? Okay, I'm asking a very green question. You can do that in Google. Now it's going to say cap rate or capitalization rate in commercial real estate is a metric used to evaluate potential return on investment property. Okay, all right. But this is what you can't do with Google. Explain that to me much simpler. Cap rate or capitalization rate is a way to measure how much money you can make from a commercial property. And it shows you how to calculate it. So if a property makes $10,000 a year and it's worth $100,000, the cap rate would be 10%. 10,000 divided by 100,000. Higher cap rates usually mean more potential profit, but also more risk, while lower cap rates suggest less profit and less risk. Well,
It's so smart, right?
Yeah.
You look at something that has a low cap rate would be something that potentially is in Manhattan or has a long-term lease like a CVS or a 7-Eleven in it, where opposed to something that has a higher cap rate could be in a more secondary, tertiary market and could be a C or D class product.
Yeah. And like the thing about this is that I know seems like simple or elementary to some people, but you literally have the first time in your life you can learn on your way. Because normally if you have to go look something up and read it, it is what it is. Now you got to like fight with that. This is the first time you can literally just have it like, no, tell it to me another way. We actually did that the other day where I was working with someone whose second language is English, explained something in English, broke it down simpler. I think I get it. I said, now do it in Spanish. And then it changed it to Spanish. And it's like, I got it. And started working on it like right away. And the only reason why I bring that up is because you don't need, like a lot of people are like, oh man, if I only had this, if I had a mentor, like if I had this marketing set up already, if I had the money, now when you think about it with technology and technical know-how, you can just know, which is really incredible because like in this market, you can build out so much. And it kind of like segues me to a second piece, which is like for the first time ever, here's what I will say. With this NAR settlement, the end result of the settlement won't hurt the people that are prepared. However, this is a personal opinion. I'm not speaking for anyone else. I do believe NAR didn't necessarily do their job as an advocate for the agents around them. And the reason why I said that is because now we're probably gonna get a notice within the next 18 months that the fees for NAR is gonna go up significantly, pay this bill. I would have rather them sent me a notice saying, hey, we're gonna go to war. Mm-hmm. So we need a war budget, pay that versus like pay the surrender budget.
Right.
Because there's a cost to wage war and there's a cost to lose a war. And it's like we just skipped the whole waging part, went straight to the surrender. Anyway, the reason why I'm saying that is because I think that this also segues to a new way that we can create a group. I don't know if we can do it for the whole country, but we can do it for our market where we can get with all the agents that want to scale and grow and be able to provide them a lot of valuable things to help keep this industry alive. Because now it looks like a certain group of people need to step up to kind of save the market. And it's not just about being a realtor. It's about like the tools exist, the success is there. And, for the first time ever, I think if I came to you 5 years ago with this, you would be like, I don't got time for that. Or I'm not doing that.
Absolutely
not.
And the biggest thing is that we could share each other. I know it sounds corny. We could share each other's energy.
Yeah.
Right. And we can share what each other are doing and our best practices to raise the level of brokers across Long Island.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we're going to scale that. So, that's why we created Titan Business Network, because we want to really just get everyone around there and just create Titans in the industry where we just go out there and push and, be able to share exactly what's being done to convert more deals, being able to implement full technological features that can speed your business into like a whole next level. Something that'll take months, you could do in minutes now. Being able to bring in this insight, being able to get experts in the room and being able to like support agents. And I think this is the first time ever we're going to be able to do that in a way that is deliverable to people that can, they can see it, feel it, and then do it.
JB and myself, over the last decade have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours coaching and mentoring real estate agents and brokers and other professionals in this industry. And the biggest thing that we're able to provide now to everybody is we could all partner together. They don't need to leave their brokerage. They don't need to change their company. They don't need to do anything. They don't even need to pay for it.
Yeah.
We're now all going to collectively work together to raise the bar of real estate agents across Long Island and the 5 boroughs.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the biggest things missing in the real estate industry is community. There's a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of stuff and programs and courses to buy, but there's never been a real community where everyone can get together in person with top producers and people that are actually going out there and crushing it and them sharing it unfiltered on exactly what you can do to scale your business. So Bryan, Karp, and myself have created Titan Business Network where real estate professionals can come together and you'll be able to learn from the best of the best in the industry. Most importantly, we're not doing this for money. There's no charge to join. The biggest purpose of this is as everything is evolving and technology is taking over, it's to make the real estate agent thrive in this industry. We're going to work on this together so our profession doesn't become extinct. In fact, it becomes more in demand than ever before. So join us in Titan Business Network to take your business to a whole other level and expand like you've never seen before.
I look back on my journey over the last 15 years, and it's been very, very lonely. Titan is an organization that is 100% free, and we're going to provide coaching, training, marketing, everything you could need to level your life, your finances, your family. We are going to provide to you. And the best part of it is it's 100% free. So join JB and myself on this journey to change your family's life.